I never thought the worst betrayal of my life would come from the place I gave my youth to. 21 years. 21 years of staying late, skipping birthdays, answering emails at midnight, swallowing disrespect with a smile. I was only 30 years old, but my back felt older than my mother's. And the day they slid that resignation paper across the table, smiling like they were doing me a favor, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I signed it. That was their first mistake. I joined that company when I was barely out of my teens. I grew up inside those walls. I trained people who later became my bosses. I fixed mistakes that could have destroyed the company quietly without credit. Whenever layoffs came, I stayed. Whenever chaos hit, they called me. She's loyal, they said. She won't leave. And they were right. I didn't leave. They pushed me. It started slowly. Meetings I wasn't invited to. Projects taken from my hands and given to younger faces who smiled too much and knew too little. My ideas were ignored until a man repeated them louder. My workload doubled, my respect disappeared, and somehow they still called me family. Funny how family is always the first to exploit you. One Friday afternoon, HR called me in. The room was cold, too clean, too prepared. My manager couldn't even look me in the eyes. They told me the company was going in a new direction. They said I was burnt out. They said resigning would look better for my future. 21 years reduced to 3 rehearsed sentences. When I asked about my benefits, my compensation, my records, they shifted in their seats. That's when I knew. They didn't just want me gone. They wanted me quiet. I went home that night and sat on my bed in silence. No tears, just shock. I kept replaying every sacrifice I made for them. Every time I chose work over rest. Every time I believed loyalty would protect me. By morning, something inside me hardened. Not into anger yet, into clarity. I requested my full employment file. They delayed. I asked for written explanations. They sent vague emails. A friend of mine, someone who'd watched me break myself for that company, said one sentence that changed everything. Do you even know what you're entitled to? So I checked. And that's when the story flipped. Buried in policies they hoped I'd never read were promises they never kept. Unpaid overtime. Misclassified roles. Benefits delayed for years. Performance records altered after the fact. And emails, oh God, the emails. Proof of how they planned my exit months in advance while pretending everything was fine. I didn't confront them. I didn't warn them. I walked straight into a lawyer's office with a folder so thick his eyebrows lifted before I said a word. He listened quietly. Then he leaned back and said, "They made you resign? After 21 years?" He smiled, but not kindly. That was a very expensive mistake. The first legal notice went out on a Monday morning. By Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it ring. By Wednesday, there were 3 missed calls. Voicemails suddenly polite, suddenly urgent, suddenly respectful. The same people who couldn't look at me before now wanted to talk things through. Their lawyers started calling next. That's when I realized something powerful. They never expected the quiet, loyal woman to stand up. They never imagined the girl they overworked would grow a spine. And they definitely didn't think I'd fight back with facts instead of tears. And trust me, this was only the beginning. The first time I finally answered the call, I didn't say a word. I just listened. Their lawyer spoke carefully, choosing words like he was walking on broken glass. He said they wanted to resolve the matter amicably. I almost laughed. Amicable was not the word they used when they pushed a resignation paper toward a woman who had given them 21 years of her life. I told him to speak to my lawyer and hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From something new. Power. Over the next few weeks, the truth kept surfacing like a body that refuses to stay buried. Former coworkers started calling me quietly late at night, whispering like we were committing a crime just by talking. They told me how management had planned my exit because I knew too much, how they feared I'd eventually demand a promotion they couldn't deny anymore. One woman cried as she admitted she was told to document fake performance issues against me. Another said she refused, and that's why she was suddenly transferred. Every call added weight to my case and fire to my chest. I began remembering moments that didn't make sense back then. The sudden praise right before the pressure started. The emails thanking me for years of dedication, while quietly stripping my responsibilities. The meeting where my manager said, "You're still young, you'll bounce back." Like 21 years was something you just shake off. I wasn't young in the way they meant. I was tired. Tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. Their lawyer kept calling. His tone changed each time. First polite, then nervous, then defensive. He warned me that legal battles were emotionally draining. I told him betrayal already drained me dry. This was just accountability. When he suggested a small settlement, my lawyer slid the papers back across the table and said, "You're going to need another zero." Silence filled the room like smoke. That's when they tried fear. They hinted my reputation could be damaged. They suggested future employers might hesitate. I remembered all the nights I protected the company's reputation while mine was slowly eroded. I remembered choosing dignity over drama for decades. And for the first time, I chose myself without apologizing. I told my lawyer to proceed. The official complaint went public, not loud, not dramatic, just factual, dates, emails, signatures, policies, laws violated line by line. Suddenly, people I hadn't spoken to in years were texting me, "I saw your name. I'm proud of you." They did the same thing to me. Turns out I wasn't alone. I was just the first brave enough to speak. At night, the anger finally came, heavy burning. I cried for the girl who believed loyalty was enough, for the woman who swallowed disrespect to keep peace, for the years I can never get back. But with the anger came something else, relief. I was no longer carrying their silence for them. Then came the call that changed everything. Their lawyer didn't sound confident anymore. He sounded tired. He asked if we could reconsider our position. He said the company wanted to put this behind us. I asked one simple question: "Do you deny what's written in those emails?" He didn't answer. That pause told me everything. They were cornered. And when powerful people realize they underestimated you, they don't fight fair, they panic. The offer came on a Thursday morning, wrapped in polite language and legal jargon, but I could hear the desperation underneath it. Their lawyer said the company was willing to settle generously if I agreed to confidentiality. No interviews, no public statements, no sharing my story. They wanted to erase me again, this time with money. I asked for the number. When he said it, I sat back in my chair. It was more than I ever imagined they'd pay, and still, it felt small compared to what they took from me. I asked for a day to think. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was confused, but because I was finally honest with myself. I wasn't fighting just for money. I was fighting for the woman who stayed silent for 21 years. For every younger woman still sitting at a desk, afraid to speak because she thought loyalty was safety. By morning, I knew exactly what I wanted. My lawyer sent back a counteroffer that shocked them. Not just a higher amount, but terms they never expected. A formal written apology. Correction of my employment record. Full benefits recognition, and mandatory policy changes inside the company. When their lawyer read it, he actually said, "She's asking for too much." My lawyer smiled and replied, "She already gave too much." The calls didn't stop. They came daily, sometimes twice a day. At one point, Their legal team asked for an emergency meeting. When I walked into that room, heads turned. People who once looked through me now studied me carefully. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't begging, I was calm. And that scared them more than tears ever could. They agreed, every term. When the final papers were signed, my hands didn't shake. I felt light. Not victorious in a loud way, but free. I walked out of that building for the last time, not as the woman they pushed out, but as the woman who held them accountable. A week later, HR sent a carefully worded email announcing internal restructuring. 3 senior managers were gone, quietly, just like they tried to make me go. The money helped, yes. It gave me rest, options, space to breathe again. But the real reward came months later when a young woman messaged me on LinkedIn. She said, "I heard what you did. I spoke up today because of you." I stared at that message for a long time, tears finally falling, not from pain, but from pride. I was only 30 years old, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't defined by a job title or company's approval. I was defined by courage. They thought forcing me to resign would end my story. They thought silence was my nature. They were wrong, and if their liars still won't stop calling, it's only to make sure I never forget how badly they underestimated me.